Constitutionalists, and welcome to the Thursday edition of the Dan Clemens Show, Christian Political Talk Show. This is episode 762. I'm your host, Dan Clemens, your constitutional warrior, fighting for your right just to be an American. It is March 23rd, in the year of our Lord, 2017. Remember, we are a hyphen-free, PC-free zone. God is still in control. He does love you. And I'm broadcasting live from the Hemlock Studios here in the beautiful, sunny, central Susquehanna Valley in the great Keystone State. And if you want to talk to me, you can call me at 657-383-1398. That's 657-383-1398. I do have the YouTube chat room open, so if you go to YouTube and look up the Dan Clemens Show, it'll take you right to there. The chat room is open. I've already typed in there. I have my new graphics card in. I'm well pleased with my graphics card and how it's actually functioning. Right now I'm looking at, I got to get it, what did I do here? I got to get it up here. I can see the bottom of it. Right now my CPU is running about 75%, but my GPU is only running at 32%. My graphics card has 2 gigabytes on it, so I'm noticing a difference when I'm monitoring it on my main PC. I noticed a difference when I'm recording, and I also did a real quick, couple minute live thing last night just to see how it looks and sounds. Hopefully the sound coming through is really good. It's hard for me to tell on this end because of the potency of the mixer that I have. It does sound a little echoey, but when I play it back through my speakers, it sounds fine. So Dave said yesterday my audio coming out was very good. So hopefully everything will go better today. I was actually set up and ready to run with the show here way ahead of time today. So I got an itchy nose for some reason today. I don't know what's going on here. Must be springtime in the air, or might have a wild hair up my nose, you know what I mean? Well, today we're going to talk about Ryancare lite, and we're going to talk about a couple things in conjunction with that, and we're going to the Indivisible group. We're going to talk about them and their fake news. I hate using that term fake news, but that's exactly what it is. They, in conjunction with Obamacare and, not repealing it, telling the Republicans, and everybody else there, sorry about that, folks, telling the constituents telling their representatives not, to vote against the repeal of Obamacare. They say it's running 1,000 to 1. But I've been looking at things, different stories, reading different things, and I think they're conflating numbers. They're looking at the switchboard or getting numbers from the congressional switchboard, and just getting raw numbers in. There's a lot of Republicans calling in to vote no, tell the representatives to vote no on Ryancare. And I know there's a lot of people out there telling the representatives to tell them do not repeal Obamacare. And there's a couple different votes going on here, folks. It's not just one big vote. There is a separate vote. As far as my research has seen, there's one separate vote to repeal Obamacare and the other one to approve Ryancare. And honestly, I'm with Senator Rand Paul. I'm with the Freedom Caucus. We don't need an Obamacare lite. That's not what, and I didn't vote for Donald Trump, but his constituents who put him in the White House, didn't vote for that. They didn't vote for an Obamacare lite, and that's exactly what's going to happen if they allow Ryancare to go through. I believe they should repeal Obamacare, put a sunset on it, let people have an opportunity to get back on regular insurance, put common sense regulations in place, like small businesses be able to pool together and get better rates, becoming part of associations and stuff. This happened in Pennsylvania anyway. We were allowed to do this as poultry producers. I became a part of a consortium here in Pennsylvania, an association of poultry producers, and it allowed me to purchase fire and liability insurance for the farm a lot cheaper than if I'd have went out on my own and had done the same thing. And you can use those same principles when it comes to health care. So there's some, and I don't know why we have to be so disingenuous. This bothers me all the time. What is wrong with telling the truth? What is wrong with actually putting the numbers out? Why do you have to skew the numbers towards your side or towards somebody else? And they both do it. And sometimes I mistakenly do it. Sometimes I look at the numbers and I add things together or conflate things, and I really shouldn't do that. And I apologize for that, when it's pointed out to me. But to just actively go out and put out numbers that make your side look better than the other side. The problem with that, folks, is that they can always be found out. They can always be found out. The numbers are the numbers. Now, you can make the numbers lie on how you interpret them, how you report them, or not report numbers. You can make the numbers lie if you want to. But my point is saying this is that can be found out. That can absolutely be found out. And it amazes me how these people think they can get away with this. And most of the time, we're talking the indivisible group. We're talking about a bunch of elitists that were former congressional aides, possibly some congressmen, definitely like Robert Reich, a cabinet member under Bill Clinton, labor secretary. We got all these folks that literally represent the deep state. They really, really do represent the deep state. And folks, to me, that's a problem. I'm trying to get this cord behind my back. That's a problem. We have the deep state, as it's called, fighting tooth and nail against Donald Trump. We have folks out there. I read a few excerpts out of a story yesterday from Prospect American Prospect, and just the out and out bald-faced lies that are being told in there. I was on the Indivisible Group's Twitter feed, and this one lady was posting, well, Trump doesn't have a single win, and we need to keep it that way. Yeah, he has a couple wins. First off, he won the presidency of the United States. Now, most of these people, they come out with the idea that, he's not our president. And if they want to do that, that's fine. If they want to go that route, that's up to them. But folks, he is the president of the United States, like it or not. Like him or hate him, he's the president of the United States. And honestly, folks, we dodged, even though I didn't vote and didn't support Donald Trump, I support him now as president because he is my president. I will criticize him when I think he needs it, and I will give him praise and kudos when I think he needs that also. I'm not just a one-issue person. I'm not just going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Now, having said that, if Hillary Clinton would have got into the presidency, I don't know how many kudos I could have given her. But if she did do something right, I would give that to her. When Barack Obama did something right, I would give that to him. Like when he would go on vacation and wasn't doing anything political or legislative leave through executive orders. I gave him kudos for that. So to say that President Donald Trump has no wins is wrong. He's going through his budget. Now, it isn't a done deal. His budget is not a done deal. However, some of the things he proposed in his budget has had some unintended consequences, and this is unintended from the left. Those who follow economics like I follow it and actually look at the proper way to see economics through an Austrian Chicago school point of view of free markets and liberty, and less regulation. Let the markets take care of disciplining, bad players. The consumers do this. I've said before, this will happen with competition from the consumers. But I've said before, Donald Trump, and this is a criticism of mine. Donald Trump and other folks, and they just need to be educated on this. They believe it's the manufacturers that drive the economy, that decide what goes to market. And that is true to a certain extent. But what indicators do manufacturers, entrepreneurs, restaurateurs, anybody that in the service industry, anybody in the manufacturing industry, retail goods industry, import, export, what is the driving force? What is it's not the number one, but it's close to the top indicators of what they're doing or what they should be doing or what they should bring in or what they should export? It's consumers, folks. Consumers are the ones that drive the ideas, not the ideas, but the implementation of entrepreneurs of their ideas. They see a pain point with the consumers, and they try to fix that pain point. They try to bring something to market that will take care of that particular pain point. And it's a lot of people say, "Well, that's just too simplistic." Folks, I'm not a PhD economist. I do understand, because I understand the math, and I do understand human nature. I understand about Austrian economics. I can't get my head around Keynesian economics because it takes me out of the equation. It tells me that my decisions don't matter in the marketplace, that the government's the one that's got to step in and they got to take care of things. Just like health care. Under Obama and the Democrats and social justice tyrants and the progressive left, they all thought that they knew better on how to run my health care insurance, not my health care. And in doing so, with Obamacare, they were trying to take over the health care decisions also through the insurance, saying, well, we're not going to pay for this, or we're going to pay for that, or you're too old for these treatments, or we're just going to, let you live out the rest of your life, whatever. And, we called them death panels. And, they were just up in arms that folks called them death panels. But what else do you call it? If there's medical technology that will help somebody extend their lives or have a better life in their older age, and they get refused that, and like it or not, pretty much told you just curl up in the corner and die without this treatment, what else can you call that but a death panel? But the consumers, and this is key, folks, we are supposed to be living in the land of the free and home of the brave, where life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are inalienable rights that are given to us by God, not just Americans. And this is the fallacy that's being put out. It's rights that are given to all human beings. However, America is one of the few countries that actually recognize those rights, and they're not limited to just those, but those primary ones. America is one of the few, if not only, countries that recognize the sovereignty of the individual over the government, because the founding fathers and the framers of the Constitution in the founding era got the idea that people come before governments. And if people come before governments, and it's through those people that governments are formed, not all the time in history by the consent of the people, but because people thought, well, we need to govern these folks. That's a reality that the founding fathers actually came to a conclusion about. And that's very, very important to understand that, folks. I gotta get let's see here, Blog Talk Radio. Here it is. I'm just getting over so I can get my advertising up for the show. This is a truth that the founding fathers actually recognized, with as far as the sovereignty of the individual. Individuals come before government, and they staunched this. They embedded this into our founding documents. The Thomas Jefferson, the Committee of Five, and the framers of the Constitution, they understood this basic truth that was being denied by kings and sovereigns and despots and tyrants and dictators throughout history. That people have always come before government, and people are sovereign in and of themselves. And the reason why the disapproval rate for Obamacare is so high is because it's not working. It's going against free market principles. It is going against the inherited right of the American people to choose for themselves what they want instead of being forced. And I've had this discussion with many of folks that are in support of the of Obamacare, any of the, you name the government programs, Obamacare, Social Security, any of these other ones that you cannot opt out of. By force of law, you cannot opt out of these things. And I said, why can't I opt out of the ACA and just get my own insurance and take care of it myself? And they won't tell you the truth. They won't tell you the truth. And the truth is, if people allowed to vote with their feet, Obamacare would have been in the ash bin of history years ago. Because they put in there in there for the tax code that if you got to prove on your income tax returns that you have insurance, and if you don't, minimum $2,000 fine for the year. That's force, folks. That is force. And the founding fathers understood that. And that's why the founding fathers leaned towards freedom and liberty. Is it messy sometimes? Absolutely. Is freedom and liberty always going to give the best results? Depends on your point of view. Depends on your point of view. If people are free to choose their own path in lives, some people are going to make bad decisions? Absolutely. Are we to step in there and stop them from making them bad decisions? No. Because when we do, and this is part of the problem with our society today, and I could go on and on about this, but this is a part of the problem with our society today. We're so afraid, especially our children, that we're going to shatter their fragile self-esteem, that we don't allow them to fail. That people don't want them to fail, and that has translated, folks, into our society. That's been cultural in our society. We don't want anybody to fail. But folks, failure is a part of life. It's okay to fail. It's not okay not to get back up. That's the difference. But the problem is these social justice tyrants, these progressives, these social democrats out there, they're so afraid to let people fall that they're not willing to allow them to fall so they can stand back up. That is a harsh reality with progressives, folks. And this is why we have the culture we have today. We have colleges that have safe spaces. We have triggering terms that we're not allowed to say. Everything you don't agree with is considered hate speech now. That's because these children, it's almost like a lost generation, folks. Going on the past two generations have almost been lost because of this. You have to let kids fail. You have to let people fail. And it's not the failing that's bad. It's not getting back up that's the problem. But if they were never trained as children to get back up from their failures, brush themselves off and get back at it, they're not going to learn that lesson as adults. They're just not. And this is why Obamacare's failed. This is why Ryancare or Obamacare lite's going to fail. Because you're not allowing people the choice to succeed or fail. You're not allowing them to go through that. And this is a huge issue with social justice tyrants out there, that they don't want people to fail. And they think we're cruel. I don't want people to fail either. I don't. But we learn more from our failures than we do our successes, especially if we get back up, especially if we're driven to get back up and put our nose back to the grindstone and learn from our lessons, learn from our failures, not to do that again. When you don't allow anybody to fail, there's no lessons to learn. And then when failure does come, they don't know how to handle it. And that's exactly, in this last election, that's exactly what happened. The lost generation here didn't know how to handle failure, didn't know how to handle losing. And this is still the reaction to it. This is still the reaction to it. Folks, today's sponsor of today's show is GearXS.com. If you go to the DanClementShow.com and click on the blue and white pre-spring sale. Folks, there's some fantastic sales going on there right now. There's some sporting goods sales that are going on in this pre-spring sale. And if you're looking to, right now I'm looking at hiking sticks, which I told my wife I really would like to get. I try to do some walking, and actually hiking sticks help take pressure off your hips and your backs and your legs and transfers them to your arms. And $29.99 for aluminum trekking poles, a set of them. That's a good deal. That is a good deal, folks. So if you like what you hear on the program, you want to help support the program, please go over to thedanclementshow.com and support one of my affiliate advertisers. All right, let's get out of this stuff here. Today's daily Bible reading comes from the book of Isaiah, chapter 40, verses 28 through 31. Have you not known? Have you not heard? The everlasting God, the Lord, the creator of the ends of the earth, neither faints nor is weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the weak, and to those who have no might, he increases strength. Even the youths shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings of eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. And that, folks, this is what I'm saying. Even Christians that are in Christ, that have put on Christ on baptism, we fall down sometimes. And it's only, honestly, folks, it's only through the grace of God that we get back up. But that grace is not going to pick us up. We have to stand back up. There has to be, on our part, there has to be something that we do to stand back up. God is not just going to lift us up if we don't want to get up on our own accord. Quote meal today comes from Abraham Lincoln. I love this one, folks. I really do. Nearly all men can stand adversity. But if you want to test a man's character, give him power. Abraham Lincoln. And that goes right along with, the test of prosperity. I think one of the hardest tests Christians go through, or even a nation goes through, is being prosperous. Because once you're prosperous, then and there's leisure time for people to really start thinking, then people are going to start thinking, we need to take some of this money away from those that have and give it to those who have not. And get into some foolish things like that. And that goes along with this, give them power, and you'll see their character. And quite frankly, folks, the left all the time shows their character in what they're doing. They really are. Because they want to take power and have power over you, over what what you make, and that's through taxation. And I've been accused, well, you're afraid of that little bit coming out of your paycheck being used for something you don't agree with. Absolutely. Absolutely. I make sure that my investments, there are mutual funds out there, folks. I've seen them. They do well, but I won't have them in my portfolio. They're called vice mutual funds. They're mutual funds based on people's vices, like gambling, like racing, smoking. Things like that. I won't have them. Won't have them in my portfolio. You want them in there, that's up to you, but I don't want them. And if I'm going to be that way with my personal money, why can't I be that way with the tax money that's actually taken away from me to be spent on these social programs I don't agree with? Okay, you agree with them, support them yourself. Meals on Wheels, perfect example. I think they've more than made up. Libraries. Have a couple bake sales, folks. Make up that $2,000 you get per year from the federal government. Now, I know more states, some libraries get way more than that. And some libraries, I was doing some more reading on that, some libraries in 119,000 plus libraries in the United States don't apply for any help from the federal government. It's all local. They have book sales and they have fundraising drives, whatever those might be. And they support themselves through their local community. And I applaud them for that. I really, really do. Today's daily Bible lesson, I'm not going to read it. I have everything set up. I got to do some editing, and I'll have that posted today. Today, I'm definitely going to have that posted. It's let's start thinking right about modesty. 4 reasons to put some clothes on. And this is by Ben Gesselbach from plainsimplefaith.com. And I'll put the YouTube link up into the page later. The beginning of the week, like I said, I was so disgusted. Yesterday morning, I got up a little bit early, and I did 5 videos. None of them I should have checked this, and I didn't. I was so excited that things looked like they were working. And I went through no audio whatsoever. And I'm like, and I didn't record the audio. So I was like, I was so disgusted, I just scrapped the whole thing for the beginning of the week. I'll be putting in the show notes pages the actual articles I was reading in the videos, and we're going to do it that way. But today I'm going to have a short Bible lesson up in video format. Plus, I'm also going to have my try to do a daily blog, a video vlog on my channel, in my YouTube channel called Exemplar Intentus, Original Intent in Latin. And so that today's going to be, so look out for this on YouTube, because after the show, I'm going to work on editing that and get that up this afternoon. I don't have anywhere to go. My wife, pray for my wife and daughter. They're on their way out to State College for my daughter's bi-yearly dental checkup. One of the few dentists that will actually take access, or MA, medical assistance, because that's my daughter's special needs, and the state requires, even though we have means, and insurance and stuff like that, requires her to be on that. So if something happens to us, she's already on it. And so it's almost 2-hour trip out there. And my wife makes that by herself every now and then. I just could not. Yesterday I had flare-ups. I don't know what was causing the flare-ups, other than maybe just the stress of the show, trying to get the equipment going and that could be possible. Because I worked on this up to like 8:30 last night and made sure everything was good. Hopefully the sound is good coming through the speakers on your end, and not tinny or not echoey. I still have to put some acoustic treatments up in front of me and behind me on the walls, just to try to soak up some of that stuff, some of the bounce back. And so I'm hopefully this sounds better on YouTube. All right, Obama or Ryancare Lite. Let's get into a couple things. One, the Freedom Caucus, the House Freedom Caucus, and I side with them on this. There's an article at thedailysignal.com by the authors. It says House Freedom Caucus could block Obamacare plan from passing. And they're talking about, I've been dubbing it, and a lot of other people have been dubbing it Ryancare, and some people say Trump care, but it hasn't got to his desk yet. So I'm putting it back on the Speaker of the House myself. Ryancare, if they don't like it, it's Obamacare Lite. And I understand that. We need to just repeal, and don't worry about replacing it. Let the free market take care of it. And again, is that messy? Yes. But you know what? Before Obamacare, people weren't dying without insurance. And if they were, and I'm not saying they are, I'm not conceding that point. I actually have friends that work at a local major hospital in the area in the insurance department, and they assured me before Obamacare, they said the way they used to pay for people that were uninsured to use the emergency room was they always tacked a little bit on everybody else that had insurance as a service fee for the hospital. And it wasn't that much for office visits and stuff like that. If you were within that, going like my personal doctor's in the Geisinger group. It's Geisinger Medical Center up in Danville, PA. It's not an ad or advertisement for them. And so people without insurance that were using the emergency room were covered. But you know what's happened now? Geisinger's opened up clinics. There's been some entrepreneurs that have been opening up clinics in the area and elsewhere. There's entrepreneurs down in Texas, doctors, that are doing a subscription fee for their services, a monthly subscription fee, which is actually cheaper than regular insurance. So these, again, folks, think about the unintended consequences, good or bad. There are positive consequences to what's happening. And even Geisinger sees the writing on the wall. They're opening up these clinics in different areas so people can go to them instead of coming to the emergency room, because it's cheaper to go to the clinic than it is to come into the emergency room. And they can go there and things can get handled a lot better. Just like, and I hate to keep going back to this, but just like the lie that Planned Parenthood takes care of women's health care issues, and some women, well, this is my primary doctor. How come your primary health care provider, Planned Parenthood, doesn't do one of the basic things for women is a mammogram to check for breast cancer? You'd think that would be part of women's health. And the other lie, real quick about this, since we're talking about health care, is that if we shut down Planned Parenthood, where are all these women going to get health care? Well, there's only like 750 or so Planned Parenthood clinics in the United States versus 13,500 other women's clinics that are strictly just women's clinics that are all, and everywhere there's Planned Parenthood, there's at least one, if not more, of these other alternatives to Planned Parenthood that do not provide abortion services but do provide mammograms and other important women's health care issues. They take care of these things. And so when people are free to do things, or when there is a situation that arises, especially in our country, we still have enough freedom and liberty to think outside the box. And that's why I love wisecracking entrepreneurs. And wisecracking entrepreneurs come in all shapes and sizes. They come from all ethnic groups, races, political persuasions, all professions. These doctors out in Oklahoma and Texas, these doctors up at the hospital, I believe it's in Oklahoma, where they actually put the fees out and they minimize the insurance, and they can do a lot of surgeries way less than what the insurance, most hospitals would charge insurance. This doctor down in Texas started his practice and decided he wasn't going to take any insurance and just charge a fee. Now, if you have to go beyond basic medical care, most all his patients, he said, have policies, but they're only catastrophic policies that'll take care of the big stuff, not maintenance stuff. And that's why Geisinger and other hospitals and other groups, entrepreneurs, are setting up these clinics all over the place, because it's cheaper to have preventive medicine than to go into the emergency room. And the emergency room doctors really don't know what's going on. They have to do all sorts of tests and spend a lot of time and waste a lot of money, where if these people had access to clinics, they could go in there to the clinics and see either, most clinics I know, they see a regular doctor or a physician's assistant, a PA, and that's fine, because they have a doctor over them and they're well educated. But they see the same person, so the person gets to know them, gets to know their medical history, things like that, things that are important. And if we continue down the road we're at with Ryancare, we're going to end up in the same boat. You can't have both, folks. You can't have freedom and liberty and Obamacare. You can't have freedom and liberty and Ryancare. You just can't do it. Oh, sorry, folks. I went over. I seen Dave popped in the chat room on YouTube, and he goes, "You may have to adjust the video settings. I can still see your Ohio State hat and a pennant and shirt." I don't know, folks, if you see my shirt. It's I may live in Pennsylvania, but my heart's in Buckeye country, and it's got a map of Ohio on it, and I have my Ohio State hat on, plus my pennant's back there. I'm not an Ohio State fan. I'm really not, folks. Oh, my. So the video quality must be good if he can read all that. And like I said, the new graphics card's working well. It's real easy to put in, really easy to boot up. But getting back to what we're talking about with Obamacare, Ryancare, any type of government, even in welfare, government-run health care is not compatible with freedom and liberty. Anytime, and this is something I believe the founders understood, because if they didn't understand that, we wouldn't have this constitutional republic that we have today. We just wouldn't have it. They understand that people need the freedom to make their own choices, and if they're coerced into choices by an outside force, that's a bad thing, because it takes away people's freedom of choice. Now, the way government is set up, I'm mainly talking about federal government, although some state governments are set up very closely to the federal government, or the style and what they do. The federal government is set up in such a way now. It wasn't originally intended to be this way, and you've heard me use this term before. They're set up like a nanny state, like they take care of us from the cradle to the grave. And again, I go back to my earlier premise of not being allowed to fail. Progressives don't want to see anybody fail. I don't want to see people fail because I know that failure hurts. It really does. But you know what? I'm an idiot, and I'm doing those people no service if I stop their failure. Now, can I try to counsel them and give them some wisdom that I might have in an area that they're struggling with? Yeah. But if they don't take it and they fail, I still feel bad for them. But the thing is, I don't put them down for it either. I don't put them down for it. If I can help them, I'll help them get up and dust themselves off. But they got to put forth the effort too. If they're going to go down and stay down, there's nothing you or I can do to get them back up. There isn't. If someone, and Calvin Coolidge said this, and I know I'm going to butcher the quote, but if someone doesn't put an honest effort into getting back up when they fall, society can't help them. I can't help them. Groups of people can't help them. Community cannot help them if they don't put an honest effort into standing back up on their own 2 feet. That's human nature, folks, and that's just that simple. If we bypass that process of them standing up on their own 2 feet and willing to do so, if we bypass that process and actually go in and pick them up, stand them up, dust them off without any effort of themselves, that's a problem. That's a huge problem because you just did something to that person. You just did something to that person that diminishes them, that totally diminishes them. Dave put a comment up there. I wholeheartedly agree, but we've been heading this direction since the Great Depression. I don't think voters will tolerate anything that moves away from government assistance. And again, I agree somewhat with Dave on that. As far as we've been going this direction. It was even before the Great Depression, Dave. It was actually started back with Teddy Roosevelt and his progressive ideas, and then we had Woodrow Wilson that just really went whole hog into that, if I can use that term, and that's the word of the day, folks, whole hog, into progressivism and making these things institutionalized. And then FDR sort of polished it off for a long time until Lyndon Baines Johnson, LBJ, came in with the Great Society and welfare and everything and just kept building and adding on to it. But I see there's cracks in the wall. I see, folks, that there's cracks starting to show up in the structure of this, of government assistance. There's people that are pushing back on this because there's a better way. There's an absolute better way than a government assistance. Like I keep using that example, that gentleman going down, he had a job and he's heading forward, packed his family up. He was from the Northeast, Massachusetts, Connecticut, somewhere. And he was going to be late for his starting day in the job because his station wagon broke down. And I keep asking people, and I've asked my progressive friends this, please point to me the government program that would have put those folks up in a hotel for a night or two and got his transmission fixed and called his boss, his new boss, and said, look, this is what happened to him. We're helping him out. We're getting him down there. And we got him down there. Tell me the government program that can do that. Tell me the government program that can literally identify why somebody's in the situation they're in. We've literally, and I say we collectively, I'm talking about the Church of Christ, we've literally helped untold probably millions of people since I've been a Christian, since 1982. And I'm not me personally, I'm talking about the whole Church of Christ together. And I'm not talking about just spreading the gospel, although that is our major job to be doing. That's what we're about, is sharing the gospel. But we're also to be benevolent and encouraging to folks too. And we've literally helped millions of people get back on their feet, because we don't circumvent that process and go in there and pick people up when they're not willing to help themselves get up. And literally sit down with folks and help them straighten things out. Help them understand what's actually going on. Help them to understand why they're in the situation they are, and actually give them a hand up to help them out of that situation. And you know, I'm not going to share personal examples that I know of personally that our congregation's helped with, but we've helped dozens and dozens of individuals and families get back on their feet after something devastating happened in their family. You know, loss of a job, insurance, whatever. We've helped them. And sometimes we help people that don't know why they got in a situation to begin with. They don't know how to budget their money. They didn't have a really good work ethic, whatever that situation is. And that's what we try to look for. We try to see why they're in that situation and try to help them out of it if they want help. If they want to stand up, we'll help them. Please show me the government program that does that. That takes a personal interest in why somebody is, or why they're doing what they're doing, or why they're in the situation they're in. Sometimes it's totally, you know, because they have no control over it. Some natural disaster happened, or they got sick or ill or something like that. Something totally outside of their control. And yet, my local society, my brothers and sisters in Christ, they've helped me. We've helped other people. Right now, like I said, I've been helped a little bit to bridge the gap between when I quit working and when my unemployment actually kicks in, which next week I should be getting a check. And they helped me bridge that gap. And, you know, and it wasn't like I wasn't willing to, you know, I'm filling out paperwork and doing things. I'm working on my YouTube channel. I'm working on trying to make this better, trying to get more prolific, as it were, put more videos out, get the show name out there, so I might be able to make a living off of YouTube. You know, I'm actively doing this, and I even told them that. I says, I can't hold a full-time job down, and the nice thing about this is, you know, I can spend a couple hours prepping for this, do the show, and if I'm really hurting, I can go sit down for a little bit, and even when I'm sitting down in the recliner, I can have my laptop hooked up to my main PC up here, and I can be doing things, just sitting there relaxing, trying to trying to get my muscles to calm down a little bit. And that's a good thing with what I'm doing here. But I'm willing to do things to try to stand back up on my own 2 feet, because I didn't ask to get fibromyalgia. And I'm just using myself as an example. I don't want people to feel sorry for me. But I didn't ask to get fibromyalgia. It was just something that happened. They don't know why, what causes it. They don't really have a good treatment. They have to try things. The treatment I'm on now is helping, but I've had a flare-up yesterday. And like I said, stress can bring this on. It might have just been stressful because of all the computer issues, and I'm worried about, you know, putting out a good product for my folks here, you know, my peeps that are in here. You know, that are actually coming and sharing the show, which I'm getting a lot, not a lot, but for me it's a lot. I mean, more than zero is a lot for me, views on the show. I'm almost up to 1,000 views on my videos now. And so I'm thankful for that. We had last Saturday, we had a day that was well over, it was closer to 800, it was 700, it was well over 700 downloads of the show. I'm not sure exactly which show, because I didn't go back into the stats, but, you know, and that happens. And I thank the people for that, you know. But I'm all about freedom and liberty, folks. And the Freedom Caucus, they want to repeal Obamacare, but they really don't want to replace it. Because they know it's not constitutional. The whole thing about Obamacare was resting on whether it should have been, and the question should have been answered no, is it a part of the new enumerated powers of the federal government to control health care and health insurance in the country? And the unequivocal answer to that is no. There is no controlling authority given to the federal government by the states to govern over health care or health insurance. And I've been tweeting a lot lately because I told you a couple weeks ago I went through my Twitter feed, and unfollowed a lot of folks. Nothing against them, but I was following individuals and stuff like that, and they were sharing a lot of duplicate things because they think like I think, or some of them do. So I just pared that down and really getting down to some of the sites I really wanted to follow and comment on. So I've been really tweeting a lot, and talking about these folks from Indivisible, and like I said, I had this. Let me find it here real quick. Indivisible weekly updates. I get this. I follow them on Facebook, Twitter, and I also get emails from them. I'm not a supporter, but I want to know what's going on. And their weekly update from the past week, March 20th, the Affordable Care Act faces a critical repeal vote this Thursday. And there's two votes going on. One's to repeal Obamacare, and the other one's to vote for Ryancare or Obamacare lite. And that's at issue here. And they were talking about at least 24 million Americans losing their health care. 14 million of those Americans are young folks that typically before Obamacare didn't buy health insurance because they were healthy and didn't see the need for it themselves. And you know what? That's a choice that I think they're allowed to make. And so 14 million of those folks would automatically come off of that. They still want to keep in, they still want to keep a law in that tells insurance companies you got to keep the kids on until they're 26. And they do that a lot to cover them, not only for in college, but if they don't go to college, which I always thought that was kind of strange. Well, if you go to college, if you're still in school, you can be on your parents' insurance until you're, I think the age was 26 under that. But if you go to, if you just go out and get OJT and you're struggling and getting training on the job and trying to build up your skill set and stuff like that, you're not on your parents' insurance. And I thought, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If you're going to school, okay, I can see that. Allow them to stay on the parents' insurance. But if you're going out and doing an apprenticeship or something like that with somebody, learning how to weld or plumb or whatever, I still think you should be able to stay on till you're 26 if that's the choice you and your parents want to make. Because it's not all, it seems like everything in this country is geared to college. I don't want to get off on that tangent again, but the Indivisible group, they're going around saying it's 1,000 to 1 against repealing Obamacare. And what's happening is and I've been trying to find the stats on this, and they're very hard to find because I don't think the Congressional Switchboard has enough time to find out if you're Republican or Democrat, and if you're, they're just taking these. And a lot of the things I'm actually seeing on the phone calls is the no votes. They're not splitting them out, no for Obamacare or no for Ryancare. They're not splitting them out. And so Invisible Group's claiming it's 1,000 to 1 not to repeal Obamacare. And I just think those numbers are dubious, because I even asked them, and I don't have Facebook open now on my browser, but I asked them, I said, please show me the numbers to this, because I think you're conflating no for Obamacare and no for Ryancare, and you're adding the two numbers together. And because, like I said, the switchboard, they really don't care. And a lot of times what I've seen on the form letters from Invisible Group and other groups, they're not delineating that either. They're not separating that out, about the ACA or Ryancare. So I find it dubious. I find the numbers dubious, especially when you don't give the breakdown of who's calling and what they're calling about, because people think it's only one vote today. It's actually two. Repeal Obamacare and vote for the replacement. And guys like Rand Paul and the folks in the Freedom Caucus, they don't want the government in the healthcare business. All they want, and folks, I keep saying this, these common sense regulations or laws that Congress can pass, they can pass it under the Commerce Clause. Insurance, if you want to get it down to basics in Economics 101, health insurance is a commodity. It's a service that's offered by a company to you to cover you in case something happens. It can cover your preventive maintenance on your body, your preventive medical care, and it can also provide coverage for your catastrophic stuff. You have a heart attack or need a bypass or knee replacement, anything like that. it can provide for that also. It's a service and it's a commodity, folks. And it's something that people can choose whether they want or not. And since it's a commodity and states are refusing to allow their residents to go across state lines to get health insurance, like I keep using an example, if I live in Pennsylvania, if there's an insurance company that's based out of Arizona that's not approved by my state government, which that's a bunch of hokum too. I've already told my state representatives we need to get rid of the Health Insurance Commission here in Pennsylvania because it does nothing, doesn't help me out a bit. And the portability laws, if Congress passes those and President Trump signs them into law, we'll get rid of those because right now, if I see this health care plan in Arizona and it fits my family to the T, plus it comes in on my budget, I'm not allowed to buy it being a resident of Pennsylvania because Pennsylvania said no. And that, excuse me, folks, that is what the Commerce Clause was put in there for, to keep commerce regular, not to regulate it, but to keep it regular. And that, and originally, if you go back and read the Commerce Clause, real quick history lesson here, states that had ports, shipping ports, were putting tariffs on other states bringing their goods through there to ship them out. And the framers of the Constitution, they argued about this, and there was some good arguments going on about this, saying, no, we can't do that because then, we're the United States. We can't have one state putting a tariff on other states just because they have something that the other state doesn't have, and that's like access to trading routes, and back then it was shipping routes, to other countries. So they put the Commerce Clause in and said we're to make it regular, not to regulate it, but to make it regular, keep states from imposing tariffs and stopping other states from shipping goods. That was the main reason. And the Commerce Clause can be invoked in this also. I don't know why it wasn't invoked earlier. Health care, health insurance is a commodity, or at least health insurance is a commodity. And I would argue that health care is also. And I should be allowed. If there's that policy down in Arizona that fits my budget, fits our needs, I should be allowed to purchase that no matter where I live. And that's what they're talking about. So common sense regulations like that would actually drive down the cost of insurance because some of these big insurance companies, these big conglomerates, would have to deal with some of these other smaller competing insurance companies that would get a huge boost if they took out the portability laws. It really would. So, like I said, there's 2 votes going on today with that. Dave pointed out, I've been doing some reading on this. There's 5 dead now over in the ISIS attack. ISIS claimed responsibility for this over in London. And there's some updates I put in the show notes today for that. We're not going to get too deep into either one of those at all. One of the terror attackers was shot by a minister guard, this was outside of Parliament, the seat of government over in the United Kingdom. And, it's troubling. It's troubling. But what you got to remember, folks, and I want to point out the obvious, the mayor of London is a Muslim. They have, because of the EU, they've had unregulated almost. The UK's tried to vet Muslim immigrants coming in the country, but when they come through the EU and they're vetted by other EU partners, it's easier for them to get into the UK. And so they're starting to have an issue with them. And this was a homegrown. This wasn't imported. This was a radicalized, and I hate using that term radicalized because people misuse that term when it comes to Islam. And Donald Trump does it, and I've called him out on this before. Progressives have done it. My antagonists on Facebook have done it to me. They've got after me when I said this is not radical to Islam. It's fundamental. It's a fundamental pillar of Islam. If you do not convert to Islam, you can be killed. That's fundamental. And I have to laugh at some of these news commentators out there in the lamestream media. Oh, well, why don't the moderate Muslims out there get after these extremists and tell them, don't you do that? There's a simple reason why they don't, because it's a fundamental principle. It's a pillar of faith for their religion. It's fundamental. It's not radical. It's not a radical idea for a Muslim to kill somebody or to punish somebody for their religious beliefs. It isn't. It's not. It's a fundamental. It's not radical. It seems radical to us, but it's not radical for the Islamic faith to be against the LGBT community, throw homosexuals off buildings, behead them, behead Christians because they won't convert. It's not radical to them. It's fundamental. We've decided to actually label it radical. Oh, why won't President? And you know, and I do believe words mean things. And I'm not sure if President Obama was on the right side of this or not, but he refused to call them radical Islamic terrorists. And I have to agree with him. They're not radical. If he said they were fundamental Islamic terrorists, he doesn't want to call them terrorists. But he said before he wasn't going to call them radical Islamic terrorists. And I caution people about using that term radical. You know, they're not. They're fundamental. And it just amazes me how many people don't get that. And the other thing that really amazes me is when my Facebook antagonists and Twitter antagonists and other folks, when they compare Christianity to Islam and say there's no difference. And I try to explain the differences between them. They don't want to hear it. You know, they think that I'm forcing people to be a Christian. God doesn't even do that. God doesn't force anybody to be a Christian. It's your choice whether you're going to be that or not. I can't force you to be a Christian. I can't force you to be anything. Unless I have a gun, I can force you to do things. That doesn't mean you're going to change your principles or your character because I'm holding a gun to your head and forcing you to do something. There's a difference. There's a huge difference between Christianity and Islam. There's a huge difference between Christianity and Judaism. You know, go read the book of Hebrews. The Hebrew writer put the argument out very well. And real quick, I only got a couple minutes left because I brought this up. The letter to the Hebrew Christians, they're Christians who came out of Judaism. The reason why the letter was written is because they were thinking about going back to Judaism, and they were thinking about some of the arguments that the Judaizing teachers had brought up, saying, well, this Jesus Christ was not the Messiah. We're waiting and looking for another one. And there are still Jews to this day that are still waiting for the Messiah, and they missed him. And the Hebrew writer actually told them that there is no other. If you leave Jesus Christ and you're waiting for another Messiah, there isn't going to be another one. Just is not going to be another one. And so the book of Hebrews is a very, very good book to go and learn, read, and study about the differences between Christianity and Judaism. It really is. And I encourage you to go do a good study on that. And if you have any questions about it, go to thedanclemenshow.com and click on the contact page and send me a question. If I can't answer it, I'll find somebody else that can. Or I'll study up myself and find the answer to the question you might have as long as it pertains to the scriptures. Oh my, boy, what a show. I love this. Everything went well today. It may not have went off without a total no hits, but it certainly did go off well today, I think. That's the music in the background, folks, and that means this is the end of the show. Fear not, I'll be back with you tomorrow at noon. Same bad time, same bad channel as it were. This has been the Dan Clemens Show. I'm your host, Dan Clemens, your constitutional warrior. Remember, if you name it nothing, we hit it every time. Have a great rest of the day, folks, and God bless. And tomorrow's going to be Free For All Friday. And I'm looking forward to Free For All Friday. Since I got everything fixed up here, it seems like everything's working better with the system. So I'm just happy to do this. So God bless and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.